Imagine being a prophet, a man chosen by God, a man who hears the voice of heaven, a man whose life is supposed to represent righteousness, holiness, and truth. Now imagine this same prophet waking up one morning and hearing a command from God that seems impossible. Not a command to preach, not a command to perform miracles, not a command to confront kings or call down fire from heaven. Instead, God gives him a deeply personal instruction, an instruction that would confuse the everyone who heard about it. God says to him, "Go and marry a prostitute." Not someone who used to live that life long ago, but a woman who is still living in it. A woman known in the streets, a woman with a reputation, a woman who will betray him, a woman who will break his heart. And the shocking part, God tells him this before the marriage even begins. Imagine the questions running through his mind. Lord, why? Why would you ask this of me? Why would a prophet be asked to marry someone like her? Was it a test? Was it punishment? Or was God trying to reveal something much bigger? What this prophet didn't realize at that moment was this: his marriage would become one of the most powerful living messages in the entire Bible. Because the pain he would feel, the betrayal he would experience, the heartbreak that would come, would mirror something happening on a much larger scale. It would mirror the relationship between God and his people. This is not a fiction. This is the true and shocking story of the prophet Hosea, a man God asked to live out one of the most painful marriages in the entire Bible, the prophet whose marriage became a prophecy, a story filled with love, betrayal, heartbreak, and redemption, and a message so powerful that it still speaks to us today. But to understand why God would ask such a strange thing, we must travel back to ancient Israel, a nation that had forgotten its first love. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you are new here, make sure you subscribe for more powerful Bible stories like this. So sit back and let's begin. The nation of Israel had once been a people deeply connected to God. Generations earlier, God had rescued them from slavery in Egypt. He had parted the Red Sea, fed them in the wilderness, led them into a promised land flowing with milk and honey. But as time passed, something began to change. Prosperity arrived, cities grew larger, trade increased, wealth flowed into the nation. On the outside, Israel looked successful, but spiritually, something dangerous was happening. The people were slowly forgetting God. They still spoke his name. They still kept some traditions, but their hearts were drifting away. Instead of trusting the God who delivered them, many began worshiping foreign gods. One of the most dangerous of these was Baal. Baal was believed to control rain, crops, and fertility. Farmers prayed to him for good harvests. Families believed he could bless them with children. Temples were built in his honor, and disturbing rituals became part of the worship. Some ceremonies involved immoral acts that were believed to please the god. Little by little, Israel began blending the worship of the true God with the worship of idols. They thought they could have both: faith and rebellion, devotion and compromise. But God saw everything, and he knew the nation was heading toward destruction. So he raised up prophets, men who would speak truth when no one else would, men who would warn the people, men who would call them back to God. One of those prophets was Hosea, but Hosea's message would be different from all the others, because his message would not just be spoken, it would be lived. One day the word of the Lord came to Hosea. Prophets were used to hearing God's voice. They were used to receiving instructions. Sometimes God would tell them to warn kings. Sometimes he would send them to distant cities. Sometimes they would deliver messages of judgment or hope. But this time, the command was deeply personal. God said something that must have shocked Hosea to his core. Go, take for yourself a wife of prostitution. It was not symbolic. It was not a metaphor. God was asking Hosea to literally marry a woman known for her immoral life. Why? Because God wanted Hosea's life to illustrate a painful truth. Israel had become like an unfaithful spouse. God had loved them, protected them, provided for them. Yet they had chased after other gods, just like a spouse chasing other lovers. Hosea's marriage would become a living picture of that betrayal. Imagine how difficult this must have been for Hosea. Prophets were supposed to be examples of righteousness. People looked up to them, respected them. Now Hosea would marry someone many people looked down on. People would whisper, they would question his judgment. Some might even doubt whether he truly heard from God. But Hosea obeyed, because sometimes obedience to God requires walking a path that others do not understand. And the woman he married was named Gomer. At the beginning, perhaps Hosea believed things could change. Perhaps he hoped that love would transform her life. Maybe he believed that once she experienced stability and commitment, she would leave her past behind. For a while, things may have seemed normal. They built a home together. Neighbors saw them as a family. But this was never meant to be a simple marriage, because God had already revealed something painful. The woman Hosea married would not remain faithful, and soon children began to arrive. But even the names of these children would carry prophetic meaning. The first child born was a son. God told Hosea to name him Jezreel. The name referred to a place where terrible violence had occurred in Israel's past. It was a reminder that judgment was coming. Not long after, a daughter was born. God told Hosea to name her Lo Ruhamah. Her name meant not loved or no mercy. It symbolized that the nation had reached a point where judgment could not be delayed forever. Later, another son was born. His name was Lo-Ami, which meant not my people. It was one of the most heartbreaking messages imaginable, because Israel had once been called the people of God. But their rebellion had created a deep separation. Each child's name was a warning, a message to the entire nation. But the most painful part of Hosea's story had not happened yet, because the prophecy of unfaithfulness was about to become reality. At some point, the cracks in the marriage began to appear. Maybe it started with late nights, strange excuses, unexplained absences. Perhaps Hosea noticed the signs but hoped he was wrong. But eventually, the truth became impossible to ignore. Gomer had returned to her old ways. She began chasing other men, leaving home, seeking excitement and attention in places that would eventually destroy her. Imagine how painful this must have been for Hosea. Every time she left, he knew exactly what it meant. Every time neighbors whispered, he knew what they were saying. The prophet who preached about faithfulness, now living with betrayal inside his own home. But this story was bigger than Hosea. Every moment of pain he experienced reflected something happening between God and Israel. Just like Gomer ran after other lovers, Israel ran after idols. Just like she abandoned the security of her home, Israel abandoned the protection of God. And every time Hosea felt that heartbreak, it mirrored the heartbreak of God himself. For a while, life in Hosea's home continued. From the outside, it may have looked like any other household, children playing, meals shared, neighbors passing by. But inside that home, something was slowly breaking. The distance between Hosea and Gomer was growing. What began as small cracks in the marriage was becoming impossible to hide. Sometimes she would leave the house without explanation. Sometimes she would return long after night had fallen. Her eyes no longer carried the warmth they once had. There was restlessness in her spirit, a hunger for something outside the walls of her home. And Hosea could feel it. The prophet who could hear the voice of God could also feel the approaching storm inside his own family. Perhaps he tried to talk to her. Perhaps he pleaded with her. Maybe he reminded her of the home they had built together. But some hearts do not listen when they are chasing something else. And one day, the inevitable happened. Gomer left. Not for a night, not for a few days. She left completely. The door closed behind her, and the silence that followed must have been deafening. Imagine Hosea standing there, the children inside the house, his heart shattered. The woman he loved had walked away. But even in that painful moment, this story was still unfolding exactly the way God had said it would, because Hosea's broken marriage was becoming a living prophecy. While Hosea was experiencing heartbreak in his home, something very similar was happening across the entire nation of Israel. The people were doing exactly what Gomer had done. They had left their first love, the God who rescued them, the God who protected them, the God who blessed them. Instead of trusting him, they began chasing other gods. Farmers offered sacrifices to Baal, believing he controlled the rain. Families prayed to idols for prosperity. Some even believed their wealth and success came from these false gods. They forgot the one who had given them everything. And in the same way that Gomer chased other lovers, Israel chased after idols. This is why God had asked Hosea to live this painful story, because sometimes the most powerful message is not spoken with words. Sometimes it is lived through experience. Every tear Hosea cried reflected the pain God felt watching his people walk away. But Gomer's story was far from over, because the path she chose would eventually lead her somewhere dark, somewhere she never expected to end up. The attention slowly faded. The promises disappeared. The excitement that once felt thrilling began to feel empty, and eventually, the same men who once welcomed her began to abandon her, because sin always promises more than it can deliver. What begins with pleasure often ends with pain, and what looks like freedom often leads to slavery, and that is exactly where Gomer's story was heading. Back at home, Hosea waited. Days passed, weeks passed, months may have passed, and there was no sign of Gomer. Imagine the questions running through his mind. Was she alive? Was she safe? Would she ever return? Or had she vanished forever? Meanwhile, Hosea continued doing the work God called him to do. He spoke to the people. He warned the nation. He called Israel to return to the Lord. But every message he delivered must have felt deeply personal, because while he preached about faithfulness, his own life was marked by betrayal. People listening to him may have known his story. Some might have pitied him, others might have mocked him. But Hosea remained faithful, even when his own heart was broken. But the time was coming when the silence would end. And when it did, the situation would be worse than anyone imagined. The life Gomer had chosen eventually collapsed around her. The men she trusted abandoned her. The money disappeared. The excitement faded. And slowly, she found herself alone, with no protection, no home, no one willing to care for her. In the ancient world, this was a terrifying place to be. There were no social safety nets, no government systems to help the poor. When someone lost everything, they often had only one option left: slavery. Debts could lead a person to be sold. Desperation could push someone into bondage. And somewhere along that tragic path, Gomer fell into that darkness. Until one day, she found herself standing in a place she never imagined she would be. A slave market. Picture the scene. Dust fills the air. The sun burns overhead. Crowds gather around wooden platforms. Men shouting prices. Buyers examining people like merchandise. Women standing silently, waiting to be purchased. Some with tears in their eyes. Some too ashamed to even look up. Among them stood Gomer, the woman who once walked away from her home, the woman who once chased excitement and pleasure. Now she stood broken, her freedom gone, her dignity stripped away. She had become property, waiting for someone to decide her price. But somewhere not far away, God was about to speak again. God spoke to Hosea once more, and what he said next must have stunned him. Go was not just about Hosea and Gomer. It was about something much bigger, because this is exactly what God was doing with Israel. Even after their betrayal, even after their rebellion, even after they chased other gods, God still loved them. And Hosea was about to demonstrate that love in the most powerful way imaginable. So Hosea began searching through crowded streets, through noisy markets, through places most prophets would never normally go, looking for the woman who had broken his heart. Imagine the whispers as people recognized him. Isn't that the prophet? What is he doing here? But Hosea kept searching until finally he arrived at the slave market, and there, standing among the broken and the forgotten, was Gomer, the woman he once married, the woman who once walked out of his home, now standing in chains of shame. She may not have even recognized him at first, or perhaps she did, and could not bear to lift her eyes. The crowd waited. What would the prophet do? Would he walk away? Would he turn his back on her forever? Or would he do something no one expected? The slave market was loud. Merchants shouted prices. Buyers argued and negotiated. Chains clinked against wooden platforms. Dust rose into the air as people pushed through the crowd. And in the middle of that chaos stood Gomer. The auctioneer stepped forward. He grabbed her arm and pulled her onto the platform. "Next," he shouted. Buyers looked her over the way merchants examine animals before purchasing them. Some whispered, some laughed, some simply stared. But then, a voice spoke from the crowd, a voice she had heard before, a voice she never expected to hear again. It was Hosea, the prophet Hosea. The crowd turned. Some people immediately recognized him, the prophet standing in a slave market. It must have seemed strange, but Hosea's eyes were fixed on only one person, Gomer, the woman who had broken his heart, the woman who abandoned his home, the woman who now stood powerless before strangers. The auctioneer shouted a starting price. A few buyers called out numbers. The bidding began. Each voice in the crowd pushed the price higher. But then Hosea spoke, calmly, clearly, without hesitation. "I will pay 15 shekels of silver and barley." It was a strange payment, part money, part grain, but together it was enough. The crowd fell silent. The auctioneer looked around, going once, going twice, and then he slammed his staff against the ground. "Sold." Just like that, Gomer belonged to Hosea again, but this time the situation was very different. The first time she became his wife through love. Now she had been bought back from slavery. Redeemed. Not because she deserved it, not because she had proven her loyalty, but because Hosea chose to rescue her. Imagine that moment. Gomer standing there, ashamed, broken, unable to even look into Hosea's eyes. What could she possibly say? Sorry? Would that even be enough? The crowd watched closely. Some probably expected anger, others expected humiliation, but Hosea did something no one expected. He did not shout, he did not insult her, he did not punish her. Instead, he brought her home, not as a slave, but as his wife. Again, the same woman who had betrayed him, the same woman who walked away, the same woman who had wasted everything. He gave her another chance, a chance to rebuild what had been destroyed, a chance to start again, and that moment became one of the most powerful pictures of redemption in the entire Bible. This story was never just about Hosea and Gomer. It was about something much bigger, because just like Gomer betrayed Hosea, Israel had betrayed God. The people had chased other gods, trusted idols, forgotten the one who rescued them. But even after all that, God still loved them. And just like Hosea went searching for Gomer, God was still pursuing his people. Just like Hosea paid a price to buy her back, God was preparing a plan to redeem humanity, a plan that would unfold many centuries later. Because one day, another act of redemption would take place, not in a slave market, but on a hill outside Jerusalem, where a man named Jesus Christ would give his life for the world. Just like Hosea paid silver to redeem Gomer, Jesus paid something far greater, his own life, to redeem humanity from the slavery of sin. The story of Hosea reveals something many people struggle to understand about God. God is not distant. He is not cold. He is not indifferent. He feels deeply. The pain Hosea experienced reflected the pain God felt watching his people walk away. Imagine loving someone, protecting them, providing for them, only to see them abandon you again and again. That is what Israel did to God. And yet, God did not give up, even when his people were unfaithful, even when they turned to idols, even when they ignored his warnings. His love remained persistent, relentless, faithful. This is the message hidden inside Hosea's painful marriage, a love that refuses to quit. Redemption means buying something back, restoring what was lost, rescuing someone from destruction. And the story of Hosea shows that redemption often comes with a price. Hosea paid silver, he paid grain, but more than that, he paid emotional pain. Because loving someone who has hurt you deeply is one of the hardest things a person can do. Yet that is exactly what he chose. And that choice reveals the heart of God, because God continues to pursue people even when they run away from him, even when they fail, even when they make terrible mistakes. His love still calls them back. In many ways, the story of Gomer is not just about ancient Israel. It is a mirror for humanity, because people still do the same thing today. God gives life, blessings, opportunities, protection. But many people forget him. They chase success, pleasure, power, money, thinking those things will satisfy their hearts. But just like Gomer discovered, the things we chase outside of God often leave us empty, broken, searching for meaning. And yet, the message of Hosea reminds us that no matter how far someone has fallen, redemption is still possible. The story of Hosea teaches a powerful truth. God's love is not fragile. It does not disappear the moment we fail. It does not vanish when we make mistakes. It is stronger than our rebellion, stronger than our weakness, stronger than our wandering. And just like Hosea walked into that slave market, God continues to search for people who feel lost, broken, ashamed, people who think their story is over, because redemption can begin even in the darkest moment. The story of Hosea is one of the most shocking love stories in the Bible. A prophet told to marry a prostitute, a marriage filled with betrayal, a woman lost to slavery, and a husband who chose to redeem her. Not because she earned it, but because love refused to give up. And that story still speaks today. Because no matter how far someone runs from God, his love can still bring them back. If this story moved you, remember this. Some of the most powerful stories in the Bible are the ones many people have never heard. Stories of redemption, faith, mystery, and the incredible love of God. If you want to discover more hidden and powerful Bible stories like this, make sure you subscribe and stay with this channel, because the next story might change the way you see the Bible forever.